As far as grade 3s go, the left hand really isn't that difficult here in Over the Sea to Skye, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of us program at that, and it's just a beautiful song. But the biggest challenges are going to be the bowings for sure. So if you haven't watched my video on bowings, please go back and watch it. It's very important. That's where you should start pedagogically when you're teaching Over the Sea to Skye. If your students haven't been familiarized with shifting, go back and watch season 1, episode 11. I talk about shifting, and I have your students develop the left-hand technique that's required. That they have to have a good left-hand shape. They got to relax. They can't be squeezing the necks in order to shift. And I've got some demonstration videos that can kind of give you some tips and tricks on how to get your students to shift comfortably. But if your students have never shifted before, you might want to do some rote teaching there first just to get them going and make sure that they've got that technique. Eliminate the squeeze, make sure their elbows pointed under, for your violins and violas. For cellos and basses, make sure that their elbows out and not glued to their side. And then everything's going to go a lot smoother when you start teaching shifting in Over the Sea to Skye. In the teaching pattern, I start with just basic finger patterns in third position. And it may not be in third position. Some of them are going to do some other stuff, depending upon the instruments. They're all playing the same notes, but how they play them is going to be different. So violins and violas, of course, they're just going to be playing normal third position finger patterns. Here, it's an augmented or 3/4 pattern. Students might miss this F sharp, so be careful, make sure this is in tune. I would tune this exactly like you tune the finger patterns at the beginning. So the finger patterns at the beginning, you go through them very slow with the fermata. You don't move on until everything's in tune. You might want to start this way too, tune it, don't let them go on. If you need some tips on intonation, and it doesn't matter what position you're playing in, first position, half position, third position, fifth position, doesn't matter. Some of those tips that I give in season 1, episode 3 are going to hold up just as well in third position as they are in first position. The basses here are going to be on the D string and not the A string, so that might be a little confusing. In their part, though, it does say third position on the D string, but when you're teaching the class, you might have to understand that and get them on the right page. Okay, so in the E string pattern, well, only the violinists have the E string, so what's everybody else going to do? Well, violas, they're just going to play a pattern on the A string. They're going to shift up into third position here, which is fine. Violas, very similar. They're going to be on the A string and shift up. So, and then the basses, they're going to do this on the G string. So they're going to go 1/4, 1/4. This is going to be C natural, by the way, for the basses. So make sure they don't shift too far away from the 4th finger here. And for your violins, make sure that they're playing C naturals too. This is going to be a major or 2/3 pattern, not like the F sharps here. Sometimes students get confused and they want to use the same finger pattern for both, and they can't because this is F sharp and this is C natural. There's a few measures where your cellos are going to have E's, and this finger pattern sets them up well for that. They've got measure 9, 10, and 11. I mean, they're dotted half notes, right? They've got all day long to find those E's. So if they can't, in 3 measures of 6, find that E, you got bigger problems on your hands. So that's not really the challenge. The challenge in the shifting is going to be with your first violins when they have the A theme up in third position. So once we get the finger patterns all worked out, I like to do these finger replacement drills, and everybody can do them. Even if they don't have this part in their concert music, they might want to have the technique anyway. So first position, third finger D, go into first position, first finger D, same note, different finger. Now, different instruments are going to use different fingers. Your cellos are going to have different fingers, your basses are going to have different fingers, but everybody's going to be playing D, 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 and the trick is just to get all these Ds to match. Both shifts here and Over the Sea to Skye occur on D to D. So you got D to D here, and then all this is in third position, and then you shift back. You've got all of this is in third position, and then you've got E and shift back to D in first position here. Students can use vibrato to help with their intonation, especially after a shift. If they're vibrating, they can vibrate. When you're vibrating, you're changing the pitch a little bit, and you can kind of help to find the pitch when you're vibrating. So this first shift here, you should get a little bit of time to be able to vibrate and find this note. And then when you shift back, not as much time here, but on the G, definitely, you should be able to find that low 2 on the E string because you've got 4 beats to get it done. Fortunately, most of this time, the second violins are doubling the first violins, and that's good because they can hear the lower octave and they can play in tune that way. But if they can hear the D to D, well, that's gonna help a lot. And over here, you know, you've got the octave Ds here that they can tune to, even though it's being approached from an E. The next pattern that we're gonna have to address is this chromatic pattern. It's a little tricky and it's in your inner voices. So in the teaching companion, I have them do this pattern. I have them isolate it. Okay, B flat, open A, G sharp 4th finger, and G natural 3rd finger. Okay, in context, this is going to be slurred. Okay, it's right here in measure 31, and it's going to be slurred here. And since it's slurred, you definitely want to use a different finger for every note. Now, if you did high 3 to regular 3 on the bowing change, yeah, I mean, it's not against the law, but it would be better just to go 4 to 3. It'd be much cleaner. And also, you know, that half step is more likely to be in tune also. The violas have the same finger patterns here, although they're on a different string. You know, they're in fifths from the second violins, but it's the same concept, okay? 4, 3, and then 2. Since their fingers are gonna be next to each other, 4 to 3, that half step's gonna be a lot more consistent than if they go 3 to 3. And 3 to 3 is gonna be a really muddy sound over the slur anyway, so 4 to 3, 4 to 3. The last finger pattern that might trip us up is this quick pentatonic finger pattern that only the violas get. And so in the teaching companion, I give it to everybody so everybody can learn the technique. And you know, it's kind of like D major, except they skip the F sharp. So it's D, E, G, A, B, no F sharp here. Again, in context, it's slurred, but it's better to work on it, you know, as simply as possible. You might want to even have them tap the fingerboard and take the bow out altogether. You could have them pluck it. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that. I think a little of that goes a long way, but just get them to learn how to skip the F sharp, handle the string crossing and all that good stuff. When you're woodshedding these fingerings, please play it slow. Don't just crash through it at tempo over and over again. That's just gonna make for sloppy playing. Slow it down to where they can play the technique correctly and it sounds really clean, and then speed it up bit by bit. In the next video, I'm gonna be going over common problems and over the C to Skye. It's very well written, so there's not a lot of common problems, and it's a pretty short piece, so it's probably gonna be a pretty short video. Hope to see you then.